Okay, go for it. We got 1 second.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Thank you. Okay, any citizens wishing to address the commission, citizens may address the Planning Commission on any item on the agenda when the item is considered. Citizens wishing to speak may request recognition from the presiding officer by raising his or her hand and stepping to the podium when requested to do so. An opportunity will also be provided for citizens wishing to speak on non-agenda items. Similarly requested recognition and address the Planning Commission. 3-minute time limits may be placed on citizens' comments. I assume this is online now, or it's just recorded. We don't have to ask for online comments? Okay, thank you. All right, any changes to the agenda?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. After the staff report on each public hearing item, the chair will open the public hearing, as mentioned, for public input. Any person wishing to testify must state their name and address. All comments or testimony should be addressed to the chair. It should be limited to no more than 5 minutes. All right. I'll move to item number 5, public hearing on the general plan 2050 update, downtown draft downtown specific plan and zoning code amendments, public hearing. I don't know which staff member. All right, Kathy Peace, thank you.
Great. Good evening, Chair and members of the Planning Commission. I'm pleased to be here. It's been a long time in the making. For the last 3 to 4 years, we've been working on the general plan, the downtown specific plan, the zoning code update. So our agenda tonight is I'll briefly go over the project components. We had our workshop last month, so you should all be kind of aware of the items. There are some new information that we provided. Since we last met, we posted the final environmental impact report. With that, there's a mitigation monitoring and reporting program, which I'll go over, and draft overriding considerations. And then we'll open it up for public testimony or questions, and then we are looking for a recommendation of the project to the City Council. So again, we are looking at a general plan update for the horizon year to 2050. It provides overarching citywide goals. It updates the land use plan. There are new policies. And we also, as I mentioned, we have a downtown draft specific plan. We've updated the zoning code, the historic design standards, the environmental impact report. So as you are aware, the purpose is to help the community look for a vision for the future, to facilitate investment and economic development, and to direct improvements for mobility and traffic flow, among other things. We have done quite an effort to reach out to the public. We had a citizens advisory committee that met 5 times over a 2-year period in order to get input on what we should look at and what was important to the community. We've had many City Council and Planning Commission workshops to check in along the way and get input. We sent out citywide a mailer to every residence to get input and to let folks know that we were doing this process. We also had an online survey that had 230 responses. That was a good effort to find out what we should cover. And then AECOM, which was the consultant, did specific outreach and met individually with Caltrans and the hospital and some of the stakeholders to get additional input. So again, our 2050 general plan, it has an introduction. There are vision and guiding principles. There's a land use and community development chapter. There's a circulation chapter that looks at the roadways and traffic, as well as looking for trail improvements and things like that. We have an open space conservation recreation element, an environmental justice element, a noise element, and then just as a reminder, we did not update the safety and the housing element because those are on their own track. Those two elements are required by state law to be updated every 8 years, and that occurred in 2021. Our downtown specific plan is shown in this area, concentrating on the downtown area. It includes the downtown, the East Street corridor, the Medical Arts District, River and Recreation District, and Ellis Lake. One of the attachments to your packet are the historic design guidelines. We brought this forward last month, and Ben Bramer had a good suggestion. He was concerned about the fact that there were height restrictions being adjacent to historic structures. And so we changed the wording from shall to should to provide flexibility, because we agree we don't want to stifle economic development if someone comes in and wants to do a taller building. So that was a good comment, and that has been changed. On our zoning code update, we went through the zoning code and found that since the last time it was updated, there have been a lot of state laws, particularly related to housing. And so we've gone through and updated all of the categories to make it consistent with state law. We also amended to introduce the new specific plan districts. And our purpose, we really want to encourage mixed use development, infill development. So those are the things that we worked on. Consistent with the California Environmental Quality Act, we did a draft environmental impact. Again, it covers all components, the general plan, the zoning code update, and the downtown specific plan. It's our hope that it will streamline future development. So if things come in that are consistent with our development projections, those individual applicants would not need to do additional environmental review. So we would be able to use this document to tier. As we mentioned last month, there are 5 significant and unavoidable impacts to air quality, cultural, greenhouse gas emissions, and noise. We received 4 comment letters on the draft EIR. As we indicated, the most significant one was the Airport Land Use Commission. We made revisions to the EIR, and we sent a copy to the Airport Land Use Commission, and they concurred that they thought that the changes that we made were consistent. And so that's okay. So we incorporated those. And like I said, we did issue the final EIR recently. For anything that we identify as a mitigation measure, we are required to do mitigation monitoring and reporting. So we put together a table that outlines every mitigation measure. It addresses who would be responsible for implementing that measure. And then as projects come forward, we check that list, and so we can check off that those mitigation measures have been done. The responsibility is on the lead agency, which is the City of Marysville, to make sure as projects come forward that they comply. So the final EIR includes responses to the comments on the 4 letters. We did some minor text changes and clarification. It's required by law to be available 10 days prior to the City Council action, but we decided it was a good idea to provide it early so that the Planning Commission got a chance to see the response to comments and the public has additional time to review. So with those 5 areas that I indicated that are significant impacts, the City Council is going to have to do a statement of overriding considerations. It's a written document that explains why the benefits of the project outweigh those significant impacts, and it allows us to move forward. So the next steps is hopefully a recommendation from the Planning Commission to the City Council with a tentative date of March 18th for that meeting. That concludes my presentation, and again, there's a lot in this action. If the Planning Commission decides to provide a recommendation, we're asking that the City Council approve and certify the final environmental impact report, adopt the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, adopt the CEQA findings and statements of overriding consideration, adopt the general plan amendment, the downtown specific plan, the historic design guidelines, and the zoning code update. Thank you.
I think I reiterate every single time, but you've done an amazing job, so we thank you for that.
Thank you.
Actually, I second that, Kathy. The staff work on this has been amazing, and I'm new to this process for this, but you've given us really a good runway on something to build from, and we're really appreciative of that.
Thank you.
Public comment? Open it for
I second.
Yeah, we need a roll call because it'll go in the resolution.
Okay. Commissioner Mahler,
Yes?
Commissioner Sutton, Commissioner Langsdorff,
Yes.
Commissioner Mesher,
Yes.
Chair Dale.
yes. All right, motion passes, and all commissioners voting yes. I will go to item number 6, commissioner comments in general. Start with Commissioner Langsdorff. Any more comments? Or
I'm good, thank you.
all right. Commissioner Muller?
Again, as the newbie here,
Great. Commissioner Messer?
Yeah, just kind of reiterating what they said earlier. Thank you, staff, but Kathy, thank you, and everyone that had to do with this specific document. It's a long time. That's a lot of years to get this right. So we're done. We're through.
Commissioner Sutton?
I want to thank the staff for everything they've done, and we're going to move forward.
Yeah, it's just a few. Good evening. Just kind of an update on some things we reported to you at the last meeting. One is that we're working on a minor change to the sign ordinance to expand and clarify the exceptions section of the sign ordinance. So it's not a wholesale revamp. It's just to allow some exceptions and to allow some flexibility within that exceptions category, and then an emphasis on historic signage and some other things like three-dimensional signage, allowing and encouraging that. So that'll be coming to you on February 26th and then on to the council. That was actually an item that was initiated by the council to update the ordinance. As we also reported to you at the last meeting, we're working on a update to our outdoor dining ordinance that expired when at the end of the pandemic. We are going to be having a workshop on February 26th at the Planning Commission, and then we rescheduled the meeting with the Marysville Business Alliance. That will be now at 9 a.m. on Wednesday, March 12th. So if you would like to attend that to hear some business input, you're welcome to do that. And we can certainly, as we get closer, we can send you an update and a reminder of that meeting. Another thing that we're working on is a update to the streets and tree ordinance, and that is to clarify the responsibilities of who is responsible for what in terms of sidewalks and street trees and the like. Our ordinance needs is in need of some clarity and further clarifications, and we'll be bringing that forward in the future. And then lastly, a couple other training-related items. Ellen's been in contact with you, and we have confirmations for those that are attending the Planning Commissioner Academy in Sonoma County, March 5th to the 7th, so that's all set. And then lastly, we're working on some thrilling training on the Brown Act, ethics training, and Robert's Rules of Order, and we're trying to make that as easy as possible for you, potentially some online types of training. So we're still looking into that to again make that as easy and painless as possible on those three rather dry topics. We also are looking into some a little longer term, but some potential training in terms of design review, similar to the training with the Planning Commissioners Academy to give you the tools and knowledge base to act on things related to Planning Commission. We thought it would be good to give the entire commission a little bit of background on design review. So we're looking for something in that regards, and so that's something out in the future.
Mr. Chairman, so just a couple of comments before Mr. Shad has some comments as well. But first, I just want to congratulate you all for getting to this point on the general plan, and thank you, Kathy, for all the work done and AECOM through the process, and for those of you on this commission who have been there from day one as well. You know, I want to say thank you very much for all of your input and for the input of a lot of community members who were involved through the process. You know, it's been a long, grueling process, but I think we're here and we get to show off our wares. You know, we have a great accomplishment with this general plan. It's been since 1985, since the last one was done with Marysville. Now we can't say that anymore because here we are, right? So now it's about execution and looking forward to the forward momentum as we move forward to 2050 with great things in our sights. So with that, I want to introduce our city manager.
Good evening. I had a few announcements and just wanted to give some information, not necessarily announcements, but just more on accomplishments and why I think the city was able to accomplish things. First of all, I apologize for the heat or lack thereof here. We were just dealing with a building in almost deemed it uninhabitable because it had no heat. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, well, does that mean this place is uninhabitable? This was actually scheduled to have new furnaces or heating HVAC units on the main portion of City Hall. There are 3 roofs and 3 large rooftop HVAC units. It was scheduled to be done like this week, but with the rain threatening, they don't really want to start that project. I believe the chamber HVAC is the first one to be scheduled, and they have to do it very quickly, obviously, within the spring months, because nobody's going to like to be too cold and nobody's going to like to be too hot. So that is in the works, and once they actually get started, they have a window where we're not having a lot of rain. It'll probably only take a couple of weeks. The contractors that are doing it, I think it's Ruan Roofing and no, it wasn't Hometown. I can't remember the HVAC contractor, but it is not FM Booth. So, and we have a construction management firm that is managing the project, 4J Construction. Another item that you guys will probably be seeing, we've spent a lot of effort in getting development moving and getting developers interested in Marysville, and I think that's paid off in a lot of respects. We've seen much more building permits pulled and a lot more buildings cleaned up. However, we still have some problem children, and we've had some concerns ever since the hotel fire about building safety, both from a fire perspective and a health and safety perspective for tenants in residential. And we had the Marysville Hotel, the State Theater has been a concern. The Packard Library, there was an attempt to commit arson there. Most recently, we had the Honey Barn location burn. That was not a homeless issue. That was probably a wiring defect issue. And then a building just behind Union Lumber recently. We also see that we have some absentee landowners or property owners. They may not be physically absent, like living somewhere else, but perhaps not attentive to their properties, and have had some recent issues with the habitability of some units. So we are intending to put a lot more effort into the stick in addition to the carrot side of things, and proactively doing inspections on buildings we think are high risks. And so that we're just getting organized, and we'll be doing our first one next Wednesday. We've already talked to the owner about it and expressed concerns, and we'll see how that goes. But you guys may hear that our fire department, building department, and code enforcement folks are out there in unison doing inspections to make sure that the buildings are safe. Going back to the Hotel Marysville, it's down. That's good news, but we got a pile of rubble covered up with concrete. We did apply for an EPA grant. That was quite the rush to get that done. One of the requirements for the grant was that we own the property, which we owned less than 24 hours before the grant application was due. So we were very rushed on that grant, and we were unfortunately told by the EPA that we did not meet the threshold. Not that the project isn't good, but our grant application wasn't complete in their mind, and they don't let you do do-overs. So very strict about if it's not in the original application, the information is not in the original application, you're disqualified. That's the bad news. The good news is there's another round, and now we have 9 months to get it right. The U.S. EPA has offered feedback, and so we intend to talk to them about where our shortcomings were and make sure we have a good application next go around. I did want to talk about this. This is not an announcement, just where I see we've been successful and why. About 2.5 to 3 years ago, council and staff spent a lot of time looking at priorities and developing a strategy for what the city needed to work on based on the city's goals. Very high level objectives. And we were interested in improving infrastructure, shoring up our finances, improving parks facilities, improving public safety, and improving our organizational capacity. I think there's a sixth objective, but I was writing pretty quick. Oh, economic development. Well, I shouldn't have left that out. He's sitting right next to me. Those were our overall goals, but those are very broad. So we prioritized what we were going to work on with council, and some of those items have come to fruition. The general plan was one of them. It was very high on the list of priorities for obvious reasons, and now we're almost past the finish line. Streets and infrastructure, I mentioned, we've paved a lot of streets relative to the past, and we've got several other projects moving forward using primarily CDBG money now in East Marysville. And we strategically use that CDBG money because those areas in East Marysville qualified based on their disadvantaged community census tract. The B Street property, we're moving forward with the grocery outlet and the hotel. That was on our list to do something with the B Street property, preferably a hotel. I wouldn't say we planned this, but the Hotel Marysville was on our list. At that time, it was to get the developer to rehabilitate it. That didn't happen, but I think we're at least a step forward now that the building is down, and we have control of that property now, so we have a bit of control on what goes back in there, which was always a concern of ours. Some of you know this. We settled our lawsuit with Caltrans, and I think we got some benefit out of that, particularly some additional bike and ped facilities. Maybe not everything we wanted, but quite a bit of what we wanted, and it's a huge improvement. And some additional street paving after the project is done in and around the high school area. From an economic development standpoint, a bunch of different other smaller projects development projects that have been going on, anywhere from residential, single-family, one-offs to fourplexes to like the Booth project. I think that one's going to move forward here fairly soon. Yeah. City Hall improvements. I just mentioned the HVAC. Our next on the list after we get the HVAC and roofing done will likely be to replace the windows and paint the building, budget permitting. A biggie is our reserve. When back in, I think, 2016, roughly, our reserve would not cover a month of payroll. It was about $250,000. Our reserve is well over 30% now, and we do have some expenditures, as an example, the City Hall, HVAC, and stuff like that. That'll draw that down. But we achieved our goal of not just 20%, but we upped that goal and said 30%. Now, I do think that we're going to see a little bit of slowdown in the economy, potentially, and that reserve will be important if that does happen. The ballpark, if anybody has been out to the ballpark, huge improvement in what that looks like. And I think we've progressively gotten better teams in there. We're going to see how this new team does this year, but in our agreement with them, we're investing some more money. We had already planned on investing in new LED lighting for the facility. We had to up our game a little bit to meet the higher league standards, but they are putting in a video scoreboard, which will be, in the end, it'll be ours. It'll be part of the facility, and they are investing a significant amount of capital in the facility, as well as the building next door to put their locker rooms and such in it. Ellis Lake, that one's still a work in progress, but one of our goals was to get the water quality to be at a decent level, and we had public input meetings on what the public wanted, the community wanted, and what the community overwhelmingly wanted was a wider pathway around the lake that was safe to walk around, and that the water quality not be necessarily drinkable or swimmable, but it be not stinking and pleasant visually while you're walking around the lake. Those were by far the two items that everybody wanted. So we worked with the Yuba-Water Agency and have developed a treatment program. And it's always, nobody notices when it's all going well, but this year you didn't see those ugly algae blooms prevalent on the lake, and that's because we've been treating the lake to prevent that. We also have a $3 million grant that we're working through from state of California, Clean California, which will likely, the primary amenity change will be putting a wider pathway along the east side of the main lake, running from 14th down to, if I get my streets right, 9th? Yeah. That's a design challenge, but we're working through the way to do that without doing the rest of the lake. That $3 million sounds like a lot of money, but certainly can't get us all the way around the lake. So we'll be looking for more money for that. The other one, biggie, on our list was Measure C renewal, and we have Measure G that passed overwhelmingly. And our consultant was shocked that we were able to go over 70% yes on Measure G, and many other communities did not fare well. And the reason I think we fared well was because we had this list of priorities and we delivered what the community wanted. We're going through this process again, and we're crossing off the ones we completed, coming up with a new one that we'll work with council on to continue our efforts. I think the goals are going to stay, the overall goals will stay the same. You know, we're going to be working on infrastructure, finances, our parks, public safety, all of those things are still going to be our priorities, but the actual projects and objectives or initiatives that we have will change, and we'll add some and take some off. So, you know, we get a lot of Why doesn't the city do this? Why doesn't the city do that? We have to prioritize. And so we prioritize based on what input we have from the public and the public as a whole. And so some projects that might be nice may not be selected because they're not what the overwhelming part of the public wants. If we could deliver everything, we would love to do that, but there's finite resources, money-wise, to be able to do that. So once we have an overall strategy that will that I've worked with staff on, there will be a meeting, public meeting, to go over that strategy with council and get their approval on it. So I just want to let you guys know where we're at from a city perspective and where we're planning on going and how we intend to get there. If you ever want to see how we do that, I can show you a spreadsheet that will probably make your eyes spin, but because it makes mine and our staff's eyes spin. But it's a very programmatic process to try and get us to the best decisions for the community. So, any questions on that?
I had a question and a comment, but I'll ask the question first. The one item I was going to ask you about is the quiet zones.
So that is on our list, and where we're at with that is our Public Works Director has been working with the railroad to do the initial feasibility study. If you've ever dealt with the railroad, they're not let me just say their priorities are much different than the city's, and so that's a bill that we have to foot even to get them to look at things, and they don't really give us advice or tell us whether it's going to, they think it's going to work. They basically just tag along, and we have to hire our own consultant and spend our own money to actually do the first level of conceptual level of the project. Likely once we have some design, then we'll start looking for federal or state funding that would support that. And there's some grants out there that either are transportation related or economic development related that might support that.
Great. I don't know, you guys have questions, but I'll give them a comment now. I just want to say I've been involved with the city for a handful of years, and I know we've been here a while. I've just seen steady progression of improvement, more professionalism, and the staff has been great. You guys, I mean, people ask me about it. I say we got a great staff over there. So I just want to give you guys kudos for that, because I've seen quite a change from when I first started getting involved. So appreciate it. Only one comments, all right.
Actually, I'll just chime in. In particular, Vincenzo has been fantastic. We've seen him do his thing, whether it's the 14th Street Improvement Project or even now the Benny Junction. And
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Marysville, where roots run deep, McCallie Appliances promises to keep the best brands with a smile on its face. We service what we sell, it's a warm embrace. Competitive pricing you can't ignore. With every purchase you'll love it more. From fridges to washers, all in a line. We install with care to make it shine. Major brands, trusted and true. McNally Appliances is here for you. Oh, McNally, we're your first choice. In Marysville, we help you rejoice. We service what we sell, don't need to stress. At McNally Appliances, we're simply the best. Our promise stands, we'll always be here. McNally Appliances, bringing you cheer.
McNally Appliances, 119 D Street, Marysville. McNallyAppliances.com. You've seen signs marking some of the gems in Marysville. They're produced by Sapphire Sign Company, providing something small, large, and mobile. With decades of experience, Sapphire Signs has pioneered local production of a variety of signs, like temporary campaign-style signs, welcomes for unique events, building signage, event promotion, and vehicle customization. Need a sign? Make it a gem from Sapphire Sign Company. On the web at sapphiremarketinggroup.net. Sapphire.
Hi, I'm Neil Goforth of Comfort Keepers of Yuba-Sutter and Nevada counties. Caring for elders or even yourself has challenges. Comfort Keepers of Yuba-Sutter and Nevada counties can help you address today's issues and plan for tomorrow with in-home and specialized care for you or your family members. Call us at 530-749-8800. Comfort Keepers of Yuba-Sutter and Nevada counties.
In Yuba County, there's a legendary diner.
Oh, it looks delicious. Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Where the parking lot tells a story. A story as simple as biscuits and gravy.
The food is good. The prices are wonderful. My dad has so many friends here that come here, and it's my dad and mom have known Mary Jane and her dad before Duke.
Duke's Diner on 7th Avenue, home of legendary chili, holiday pies, and generations of local residents preparing tasty, hearty food for generations of local people. Join Mary Jane and her genial associates as they serve meals you'll come back for. Duke's Diner on 7th Avenue, Olivehurst.
Yuba-Sutter alive. It's the truth that comes through.